everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Millennial Mind. This week, I'm back with another solo episode where I'm going to be talking about the number one thing that stopped me from getting what I truly wanted, and that wasn't a degree, that wasn't a grade, that wasn't all the things that I grew up thinking it was my mindset. And I really want to share some of the tips that have helped me overcome my limiting beliefs because they have totally transformed my life. And I'm hoping by the end of this video, you can see how they could transform yours too. We are so close to 100K on this channel, and I'm really hoping that we can get there by the end of Christmas so that I can finally display the placard on this very plain wall behind me. So if you can, please take just 10 seconds to press the follow, like, and subscribe button wherever you're watching this podcast. It would genuinely mean the world to me, and I'm so grateful for every single one of you who tunes in every single week to watch one of these episodes. So the reason why I wanted to dedicate an entire episode to limiting beliefs is because I truly believe that so many of us are unaware of the stories and the narratives we tell ourselves. So many of us think that we are unable to do things, but told us that we couldn't. We did. Sure, we can blame our parents or our teachers or someone we met in the street or our friends that have said, yeah, you can't do that. But ultimately, has anyone ever stopped you from doing something you really want to do? If your parents told you you can eat sweets at night, would you not eat sweets because you physically thought you couldn't? No. If your teachers told you you couldn't leave the gates outside school at lunchtime, would you not go? No, I did that all the time. Did I believe the things that they told me, or do I believe the things that I believe about myself? Does that make sense? And the question you should ask yourself is the latter. What are the things that you believe about yourself? Let's stop blaming everyone else. So today I want to uncover what are the limiting beliefs that you are struggling with at the moment. Why are you struggling with those, and how can we overcome those? How can we reframe them? How can we change that? And how can we reach our full potential? I have done this for myself so many times, and there are so many things that I now laugh back at and think, why did I used to tell myself this story? Why did I tell myself this narrative? Why was I putting myself down? Whether it's your relationships, your health, your hobbies, your personal development, if you have a limiting belief, you'll be stuck in this cycle of fear and doubt. But the good news is today I'm going to take you through the actionable steps that are going to teach you exactly how to identify what your limiting beliefs are, exactly how to overcome them, how to change that narrative, and ultimately how you can do anything you want to. Because if I can do the things that I want, trust me, you can do it too. Okay, step one is first to identify what your limiting belief is. Now, an easy way to really figure this out is what's really been holding you back. What is something that you've wanted to do but you haven't done it because of? Now, this can be in any area of your life. This can be in your career, this can be in your relationships, this can be in your health. This could literally even be in a hobby. This could be in trying something new. Like, one of my limiting beliefs is that I can't dance. Now, I'm not going to uncover that today, okay, because I haven't gotten over that yet, and quite frankly, I don't really want to learn how to dance. I just don't really have an interest in it, if I'm completely honest. But one of the things that I did used to really struggle with was I used to truly believe that I wasn't clever enough. And that used to stop me from doing so many things because I used to think, okay, well, there's no point me even trying because I'm not clever enough and therefore I'm not going to get it. Now, what I really want you to do now is get a piece of paper and a pen and write down a limiting belief. Really think about what is it that I've been struggling with? What is it that I've been holding myself back from because of? So this could be something like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not clever enough, I'm not lovable enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not cool enough. So many of these things are limiting beliefs, and they stop us from doing the thing that we truly want. I've experienced this because I used to think that I wasn't clever enough in so many areas of my life because of my grades at school. Now, we'll come on to that second part, but I really want to give you an opportunity to think about all of the limiting beliefs that you have. There's certain things here which really allow you to explore all of these uncomfortable truths because they are very uncomfortable. But the first step in acknowledging this is truly accepting that you feel limited by it. Think about the times in your life where you feel stuck. Think about the times in your life where you feel scared. Think about the times where you actually are the blocker in doing something that you actually really want to do, but you're coming up with all these excuses. Think about a time where you've made the excuses to yourself. Be really genuine and honest here because it is a hard thing to accept. The reason why I've also asked you all to get a pen and a piece of paper rather than just thinking about this is because when you write something down and you see it, you really do learn to understand and accept that it's true. Often we can just think, oh, that was a thought and it didn't really mean anything and therefore I don't need to think about it. But what that does is it doesn't allow us to accept it, acknowledge it, and actually take action on it, because we're like, oh, it was just a small thing. If we write something down, we've actually really understood that it impacts us. We've understood that it affects us, and that really means that we can do something about it. So here, really think about those 5 areas of your life that I always constantly talk about: your health, your relationships, your career, your personal development, and your hobbies. What are some of the things that you haven't done in those 5 areas of your life? What are the things that you say about yourself as to why you can't achieve it? In your career, do you say, I will never get promoted? In your relationships, do you say, well, I'll never get a boyfriend or a girlfriend? In your relationships, do you say, well, I'll never get married? In your hobbies, do you say, well, I'll never do this because I'm not good enough? What are the things that you're telling yourself? And it can sometimes feel so ridiculous to write them down, because sometimes we don't even realize how horrible and mean we are to ourselves. And when we write them down, we actually realize, oh my God, I've been saying this to myself my whole life. So like I mentioned, my limiting belief was I wasn't clever enough to do the things that I really wanted to do. I just had to get by. If you listen to my other podcasts, you'll know that I've mentioned it so many times. I was never told I was clever. I was never told I was smart. I was never told I was going to get anywhere. So for me, I always thought, oh, well, I should just take the first job I can get. Oh, I'm never going to be happy at work. Oh, you're meant to feel miserable when you're working. And only when I really understood why I was feeling that way did I allow myself to do things that I really want to do, which is sit here and talk to you all today. Okay, now we've really understood what our limiting belief is. Now it's really, really important, and this is step number 2, understand the source of that belief. Now, I don't mean here just say, oh, it was in the past. I mean, really dig deep and be specific as to where you understood it. A couple of months ago, I did this healing over the phone with this lady called Melissa. She's amazing. And what she did was help me really understand where I got this belief from that I was stupid, where I got this belief from where I wasn't good enough for anything. And it really traced back actually to when I was in primary school in year 4. And my teacher said to me, you'd forget your head if it wasn't screwed on. Now, I remember feeling really embarrassed, feeling really upset, feeling really stupid in my classroom because everyone was looking at me. I remember going bright red. And I remember it's because I didn't do my homework. I told her I forgot to do my homework, but actually my notebook fell out of my bag. And then she said that to me and everyone was laughing, and then I felt like, oh, I am really that stupid. Now, obviously I should have done my homework, okay? It was my fault, but should the teacher have spoken to me like that? Probably not. Now, the fact that I remember that from year 4, when I was maybe 7 years old, or 8 years old, it's quite shocking if you think about it. I'm 31 and I can remember that moment so distinctly, which means it must have had an impact on me. So whatever your limiting belief is, now try and think back to when was the first time you felt that way? When was the first time you didn't feel pretty enough, clever enough, smart enough? Whatever those things are, try and think back to when was the first time someone said it to you, or you think you felt that way, or your earliest memory of that was. When you think about that, you can really start to understand how that younger self was feeling. It also starts to really heal you too. And a really important thing that I learned doing this exercise was realizing that actually a lot of these things are external. A lot of these things are, oh, my teacher told me that, oh, my parents told me that, oh, my friend told me that. None of these things came from me. It's only in my older age that I'm saying these things to myself. So why am I torturing myself by saying these things to myself now? Why can't I understand who said them to me, realize that they're stupid, and then change that narrative? We're going to come on to that step, but that was just something that I really want you all to remember while you're doing this, because it can feel very heavy and very hard. When you're thinking about these past experiences, it can often bring up some really harsh emotions. A lot of you might be feeling really emotional. I know the first time I did this, I felt really sad. And so I really want you to remember that this isn't what you think about yourself. This is what someone else said to you in that moment where they probably were stressed out. They might not have meant it. They didn't probably realize the impact it was going to have on you. So when you're thinking about this, just remember it comes from external people, and therefore we can handle that external source and just shoo it away. Okay, now that you've really understood where this has come from, I want you now to reflect on this. Who told you this? Is this a reflection of what you really think about yourself? Is this something you really think about you? Do you really think you're not? Are there no times in your life where you've contradicted that statement? Are there no times in your life where you haven't been that person that this person has told you 10, 20 years ago that you were? Really trying to understand, does this statement still align with you? The answer still may be yes, it might be, but sometimes it can often be no. Okay, now if your answer is still yes, this does resonate with me, we're moving on to step number 3, which is to challenge that belief. This is my favorite part of the exercise because this is where I'm going to prove to you that your limiting belief is absolutely rubbish. You're going to feel good, and I'm going to feel that connection with you right now through the screen. Okay, are you ready? I want you now to think about your limiting belief. You're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not funny enough, you're not cool enough, you're not pretty enough, whatever on earth it is. And I want you to write a list of evidence to show me that that limiting belief is true. I want you to do it right now. I want you to sit there and write me an essay about why that limiting belief is true. And you will not be able to do it. And I can prove that without even meeting you, without knowing you. I don't even know who's watching this video right now, but I know that it won't be true because so often we have a limiting belief without ourselves based on maybe one example, 2 examples, 5 examples, 10 examples, not 20 billion examples. And we go through millions and billions and trillions of experiences in our lifetime, and yet we still hold on to these 5 examples and say, no, they define us. No, this example defines my entire life. No, it doesn't. I want you now to write down, because that list is actually rubbish, I want you to now write down the important list, and I really want you to think about this. Whatever your limiting belief is, okay, mine wasn't I wasn't clever enough, so I would write down all the times in my life where I have been clever enough, all the times in my life where I've done something right, all the times where I've learned something new, all the times where I have done something well, because who defines what clever is? Who defines what cool is? Who defines what funny is? Whatever your limiting belief is, I want you to write now a list of evidence to support it. Do it. I will allow you time to do that. But also a list of evidence that goes against it. And really focus on the evidence that goes against it. Really focus on the times where you've proved yourself wrong. Because the more that you focus on those experiences, the more that you will overcome this limiting belief that is focusing on these tiny experiences. Listen, all of us are not perfect. We all make mistakes. We all do things that are wrong. But if we spend our life focusing on the things that we do wrong, if we spend our life focusing on the things that we're constantly not doing right, what is the point of living? Why are we going to live a life where we're all miserable, saying, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, I'm not worthy of this? Why don't we all live a life where we say, yeah, I have made mistakes, I'm a flawed human being, but I always want to be better. So I'm aware of those mistakes. I'm not being a lunatic who's saying I don't make any mistakes and I don't care about them. I make mistakes, but I don't focus on them. I focus on how I can improve them. So the limiting belief you have right now is an idea that you said about yourself. Maybe it's, I'm not clever enough because I never studied hard enough, which is very true to me. Okay, well, why don't I study hard enough at the things that I enjoy? Why don't I focus on my strengths? Why am I spending my life focusing on my weaknesses? And this is one of the key things I always want to emphasize with my content. I want you all to always focus on your strengths. Because when you focus on your strengths, that is when you will let go of those limiting beliefs that stop you from getting to who you are and where you want to be. When I focused on my weaknesses and I would focus on the fact that I wasn't good at X, Y, and Z, I was constantly not looking at the things that I was good at and flourishing in those things, focusing on those things, but making them better. I was constantly thinking about the things that I was lacking. And this is exactly when you talk about in the law of attraction, you've got this lack mindset. I don't have enough of that. I'm not good enough for that. I'm so bad at this. Your vibration is significantly lower. So I really want you to now to think about what is the evidence for the limiting belief and against the limiting belief. Okay, now we've done that list, it's time for step 4, which is reframing that belief. Now, I don't mean here to completely get rid of it, it's reframing your relationship with that belief. Reframing is all about turning that negative thought into a more positive and empowering statement. It's not about ignoring the belief, but it's about changing your relationship with it. For example, if your limiting belief is, I'm not good enough to start a business, changing it is, I'm learning every single day to be a successful entrepreneur. I'm constantly networking with amazing, exciting people to learn a bit more. I'm going to make sure I invest in myself by investing in this course or this mentor or this coach. It's about reframing those statements to allow yourself to believe that now you're in a position to grow every single day rather than constantly coming from that negative voice, which is, I'm not good enough. It's changing the narrative to be like, but I'm learning every day. I'm learning something new every day. They're very, very different statements. I'm not asking you to say an affirmation, which is, oh my God, I'm the most successful entrepreneur in the whole world, but it's about understanding that there's different approaches in how to get to the same solution. These statements can actually help you into a growth mindset rather than pulling you back into this negative voice. If someone says to you, oh, I'm not good enough, you can say to them, yet. That's one thing that you can add to every single negative statement. I'm not cool enough yet. I'm not happy enough yet. I'm not rich enough yet. Whatever statements you say to yourself, if you put yet, it just means that you're not there yet. It means you're inevitably going to be there. It means that it is for you. It means that it's in your destiny. It means that it aligns to you. It just means that you're not there yet. It doesn't mean you're never going to get it, which is what that negative limiting belief kind of portrays that you are. It means that you're never going to get there. Whilst a positive statement would be, I'm not there yet, and therefore I know that I'm going to get there soon. And therefore I know that one day I will be. So for example, when I used to say I'm not smart, it was, I'm not smart at what? What is it specifically that I'm not smart at? Oh, I'm not smart at doing spreadsheets. Well, I'm not smart at doing spreadsheets yet, because I'm going to learn about them. I'm going to go on a course. I'm going to get an accountant. I'm going to get someone to help me. Whatever it might be, it just means you're not there yet. Reframing the belief is genuinely one of the best things that I ever did, because it allows me to come from a very positive place. Sure, we all have bad days. Sure, we have things that we're not very good at. Sure, we have the inner critic and self-doubt. But we don't need to constantly be saying these negative statements about ourselves. We don't need to constantly be putting ourselves down. We have enough people out there in the world who want to bring us down. Let's not be the champion of that. Okay, step number 5, and this is honestly the most important step. You need to take action against that belief. You need to prove to yourself that belief does not exist. Mindset shifts are powerful, but real transformation happens when you truly take action. I talk about this in all of my content. It's very easy to say you're going to do something, but actually doing it is very difficult. Saying you're going to change your mindset will only happen permanently when you constantly take action to prove to yourself that what you're saying is true. Now, the key thing here is to start small and build momentum. I don't want you to say, oh, my limiting belief is that I'm not good enough to start a business and therefore tomorrow I have to do 20,000 things to start the business. No, create a plan, set small achievable goals, and do a small thing every single day. Confidence equals competence. I've talked about this in all my other videos if you haven't seen it, but the confidence-competence loop is something that I constantly refer to in my content because it just makes so much sense. It's so easy to adopt and it's truly helped me in my life. The more competent you become, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the more competent you become. And it's a loop. So just start and start small. Start doing something small, build it up every single day, and you will become more confident and in turn become more competent in that area. The more you act in alignment with this new positive belief that you have about yourself, the more incompetent and the more irrelevant the limiting belief will become. So if you say to yourself, but I'm not good enough to do this, and you constantly do it. I'll give you an example. A lot of you know me for, which is when I asked Stephen Bartlett to be on my podcast. Let's say my limiting belief was, I'm not good enough and therefore Stephen Bartlett will not want to be on my podcast. What would I do? I would not ask him. I would not have the balls to get the questions prepared the day before because my limiting belief would be I'm not good enough. The more you say to yourself, okay, I might not be good enough yet. However, I don't think he's expecting me to be the best yet, so let me give it a go. What that will do is allow you to open up your mind to say, maybe it could happen, maybe it won't. Now, the question here is to really challenge yourself and to go against that limiting belief and take a small action. So in that case, I prepared the questions, small action. That propelled me to go to the interview with a bit more confidence when I met him, shake his hand, give him my planner, and have a conversation with him because I wasn't scared because I didn't think I was such a loser. Had a great conversation with him, the podcast finished with Rashma, and then I had the balls to ask him, will he come on my podcast? These are small things that actually propel me a little bit forward to take the next step. All I'm asking you to do is take a small step that will actually give you the confidence to take the next step. A lot of people think that the first step is to just meet Stephen Bartlett and say, hey, can I go on your podcast? No. The first step is preparing the questions. What am I going to ask him? The second step is meeting him and being confident and building a relationship. The third step is listening to his stuff and actually understanding what resonates, what doesn't. Now I can ask you. There's so many steps that we take to get to that end goal, and so often that they're overlooked. So this final step is so important. Take small actions that go against your limiting belief and actually make that positive statement the one that you resonate with more. So there we go. Those are the 5 steps that I took to reframe my limiting beliefs, and I hope that they have truly helped you as well. I just want you to know that this isn't a one-night wonder. This isn't something you're going to do today and actually just be able to overcome it quickly tomorrow. This is something that takes so much time and practice, but now you've written down your limiting beliefs, you've understood what they are, you've understood how they're impacting you, you've understood where they've come from. Now I really hope that underneath each of those sections, you've been able to reframe those limiting beliefs into positive statements. I really hope you've been able to see the difference between that first part of identifying your limiting beliefs and the second part that we did, which was really changing that into a positive statement. And looking at that on a piece of paper and seeing that contrast and that distinction, you can very quickly see how you can change one narrative in your mind to another. So often we focus on this negative narrative with ourselves. We focus on that first part, which is all these horrible things we say to ourselves. And I often think, if someone else said that to me, how would I truly feel? How would I respond to them? Would I take it from them? I remember when I was reading Untucked Soul, something that it said was, would you allow someone else to speak to you like that? Genuinely, would you allow someone to say, you're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough? And my response would be, how do you know? How do you know what I can do? And therefore, you've got to question your thoughts. Your thoughts change constantly. We have so many thoughts that go through our minds every single day. And I really want you to now take the time to reflect on this list and see how you can actually focus on those positive ones. So I want to do a challenge with you all. I want you all to tell me what's one limiting belief you've identified. How did it come about? Where did you identify it? How did you challenge it? How did you reframe it into a positive thought? And number 5, how are you going to take action this week to go against that limiting belief? I would love to know if this video has actually helped you in overcoming limiting beliefs, and I would love to also know if you've got any other tips on how you have overcome your limiting beliefs, if there's something that I've missed in this video. The most important thing is to focus on one thing that you can do this week, and then every week build it up, because listen, we've all got a billion things going on in our lives. There's only so much that we can do, but there is a small amount of time that we can spend on ourselves every single week to make ourselves better, happier, and more fulfilled. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so grateful that I'm able to do these solo episodes with you all every single month. And from next week, we'll be back with a guest, but I will see you all very soon. Thank you again, and have a great week.